are dancing. What's up? Yes, happy Tuesday. For some of you, it's already Wednesday. You get the drill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever's going on where you're rocking out. You know how it goes. You know how we do things here. Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is well. Hello, Karen. How are you? I hope your day is going spectacular. Mine's going great. Lucy was hanging out a minute ago. Then she bounced. Lucy, you should come back over. Come hang out. The camera's on. You like that, right? Sure. I think you do. Oh, man. What's up, Toady Lovin' Yogi? That's awesome. I like it. That's very cool. Toady Lovin' Yogi. I dig it. I dig it a lot. I hope everyone is doing spectacularly great. I don't even know if that's yeah, you know what I mean, right? That's what I'm hoping for. And we got a fun show planned today. First of all, we'll start with the song of the day. So the song of the day was dropped over by someone who also has a story, Vampire Anarchy. And the song of the day is by a group called The Briggs. And the song is Control, Alt, Right, Delete. This was submitted by Vampire Anarchy in our Reddit subsection. And it's a song against neo-Nazis. It's a song against the alt-right. It's a song against, a lot of the extreme hateful views going on in the contemporary United States. It's a protest folk punk song against all that, calling for an end to that hatred. And it's a really good song. Great melody, great sing-along. The Briggs, Control, Alt, Right, Delete, submitted by Vampire Anarchy. Check it out. I'm not crazy familiar with the Briggs. It's one of those names that I've heard around a lot. Have not really dove into them a whole lot, but I enjoyed this track. It was a fun track. It was a sing-along track. Had a good melody. Had a good kind of anthematic folk punk, anthem-esque driving force behind it. I like that stuff. So I'm gonna look into more of their stuff. Vampire Anarchy, thank you for submitting that. Guys, this is a doozy. Check this out. So this started last night, and you may have already seen this on Twitter. In fact, you may have already seen me tweet about this. Chris Cuomo. Oh boy, did that guy make a scene. Chris Cuomo almost got in a fight because somebody called him Fredo. Now, so I didn't know what that meant at all, but I saw this on Twitter. I was actually, last night when all this started going viral, I was at the movies. I saw Scary Stories. I really enjoyed it. I grew up with those books. I grew up with the Scary Stories books. So it was a big deal that they finally made a movie out of it. If you're an elder millennial, as they call me on the Jimmy Dore Show, if you're an elder millennial like me, you grew up with the Scary Stories books, and they were so cool, and they really creeped me out as a kid. Well, they made a movie about it. I saw the movie last night. I enjoyed it. I feel like if you grew up with those books, you'll enjoy it too. But anyway, as the previews are kind of going, I was like, I'll check Twitter. I got nothing. Previews I find kind of boring. I don't really watch them. And so I saw this thing from Chris Cuomo saying that somebody called him Fredo, and he said that was a slur towards Italian people. It's like the N-word, which is a lie, by the way. That's not even remotely close to being true. The fact that he even said something like that is pretty insulting. But I didn't watch the video itself, so I didn't know any of the context. So I tweeted about it, and here's what I said at first. All right, so I said, I am Italian American. I have family in Italy, family who are first generation in the U.S. I've been to Italy several times, and I speak Italian. I have never even heard of this. I don't know all the details of this incident, but the Fredo thing sounds like BS. All right, so then I watched the video, and here's what I had to say after that. I just watched the video. I get the reference now. Comparing it to the N-word is beyond ridiculous. You want to talk about something off-putting to Italian Americans? Take a look at Chris Cuomo's fake tough guy routine. You're pathetic, Chris. All right, well, let's watch the video, shall we?
No, punk-ass bitches from the right call me Fredo. My name is Chris Cuomo. I'm an anchor on CNN.
You must.
Fredo was from The Godfather. He was that weak brother.
Isn't that your
And
brother?
they use it as an Italian aspersion. Any of you Italian?
All right, so that's the thing here. The thing here. Let me make it. There we go. So the thing happening here was that somebody called him Fredo, which is a reference to The Godfather. Fredo was the weaker brother. I've seen The Godfather. I'm sure we all have. It's been years. I did not catch that reference. In fact, the first thing I would have thought of if somebody called me Fredo, I would have thought Lord of the Rings first. So, but that's the reference. So because his brother's governor, and that's the only reason he has his job, that was the reference. And all right, so let's watch more of this video because this gets funnier. All right, here we go.
Are you Italian? It's a fucking insult to your people. It's an insult to your fucking people. It's like the.
I like how his Italian tough guy accent gets thicker as he's talking. He's like, "My name's not Fredo. Are you Italian? This is an insult to your people. My name's not Fredo. You know that. That's from The Godfather. You Italian? You Italian? That's an insult to your people. Punk ass bitch insulting our people. That's an insult to our." No, it's not. First of all, no, it's not. It's a movie reference that's particular to Chris Cuomo in this, for instance. It's not an insult to Italian people. Anyway, let's keep watching.
The N-word for us.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That's like the N-word for. No, it's not. No, it's not. Nobody agrees with him, by the way. Everybody's like, what? All right, let's keep watching this. It gets funnier.
Is that a cool fucking thing?
You're a much more reasonable guy in person than you seem to be on television.
Yeah, but if you want to play, then we'll fucking play. If you got something you want to say about what I do on television, then say it. But don't call me a
Hey,
fucking
man,
insult.
hey, listen.
What?
I don't want any problems.
Yeah, you're going to have a big fucking problem.
What's the
It's a
problem?
little different on TV. Don't fucking insult me like that.
I didn't insult you.
You call me Fredo. It's like I call you punk bitch. You like that? You want that to be your nickname?
I didn't call you that.
You called me Fredo. You know my name's not fucking
I
Fredo.
thought your name was.
You did not think.
So this guy is saying that he thought his name was Fredo. He's like, look, I thought your name was Fredo. And in fairness to that guy, I thought Chris Cuomo's name was Reek until yesterday. I didn't realize. I thought it was Reek. Chris Cuomo. All right. We got to get through it. It's so, wow. This is how that dude spent his 49th birthday, by the way. 49th birthday. This is what he does.
My name was fucking Fredo. Don't be a liar.
My name's not fucking Fredo.
Stand up like a man.
I'm standing up, man.
I want to be a man out here.
And sometimes he drifts in and out of his like fake, tough guy Italian accent. Like he drifts in and out of it. He's just like, my name's not fucking Fredo. You know that. I'm not Fredo. Stand up like a man. Like he can't keep it. He's only a semi-successful actor, folks. I mean, these are not the A-level actors that get these news anchor jobs. Chuck Todd, just a semi-decent actor. Chris Cuomo, just a semi-decent actor. All right. And Chris Cuomo's really bummed out the Sopranos are over. He really wanted to be there. He never got a shot. They gave it to Stephen Van Sant instead. Chris is still bummed out. All right.
Then fucking own it. Then own what you said.
Own it.
Then own what you said.
Listen,
Take
man,
them-
I
yeah,
don't have
what?
a problem with you, man.
Yeah, you're gonna have a fucking problem.
What? What are you going to do about it?
I'll fucking ruin your
something
shit.
then.
I'll
Do
fucking
something.
throw you down these stairs like a fucking punk.
Please do.
Why? So
Why?
you can
don't wanna
fucking
do
sue?
that. You don't want
So
to
you
do
can
that.
fucking sue?
He's challenging. I'll throw you down the stairs. I'll throw you down the stairs like a punk. Oh, you'll sue. If you're gonna give this whole tough guy routine and then you're like, oh, you'll sue. That sort of takes away from it a little bit, don't you think? Like, I'll throw you down the stairs. I'll throw you down the stairs. I'm gonna throw you down the stairs. You're gonna sleep with the fishes. I'm gonna throw you down the stairs. All right, man. You're calling me out. Go ahead, throw me down the stairs. You'll sue. I'm not gonna do that. Where's that green shirt guy when you need him? Why is the green shirt guy not just laughing hysterically in this? This is one of the funnier things that's gone viral in a minute. All right, let's keep watching.
But why don't you do
Go
it?
take a swing. You want to call me Fredo? Take a fucking swing.
I'm not going to swing at
He wants him to swing because if you swing, then suing's going to be a lot harder. Chris Cuomo's still thinking about money throughout all this. That's still the first thing going through Chris Cuomo's mind is money. He's just like, if he swings at me, it would be way harder for him to sue if I throw him down the stairs. Oh, wow.
Take a fucking swing. Watch your fucking hands. Take a swing. Watch your fucking hands.
All right, he's telling a random person who's just holding the camera to watch their hands. Anyway.
Take a swing. No, come on, boy. Come on, boy. So you want to call me shit? Call me shit then.
Listen, man,
I'm right
I'm
fucking
not
here.
doing anything.
I'll fucking wreck your shit. I'll fucking wreck your shit.
Stop.
You didn't know what you were doing when
I
you
thought
called
it
me
was your
Fredo?
name.
I
thought it was your name.
You didn't know, right? Hey, you didn't know what you were saying, right?
I thought it was his name.
I'm breaking it up. I'm breaking.
So a guy gets in there and he stands in between and he says, I'm breaking it up. I'm guessing that's a family member of Chris Cuomo's. This would not be the first time a family member helped Chris Cuomo out. Would it, Chris? This wouldn't be the first time. Would it, Chris? This isn't the first time a family member helped Chris Cuomo out. That's why they're calling him Fredo in the first place. Fredo's the weaker brother in The Godfather. You know, Chris, if the shoe fits, you know what they say, if the shoe fits, don't be the first to issue a lawsuit. Oh, man. Yeah, on behalf of all Italian Americans, the word Fredo is not a slur, nor is it something insulting to Italian Americans. Now, a 49-year-old doing this fake tough guy routine. All right, let's watch the rest of this. Is there anything else? I think it's pretty much over. But why not see if he has any more comedy here?
This is my buddy. Hey, look at all these cameras. You're in for it. You're in for what?
Did you guys see that? Did you notice this?
Fredo.
Did you notice that? All right, here, wait. Let's back up a little bit. Hold up. Let's back up a little bit. Like right here, you see his face. His face changes when somebody says...
I'm right. You didn't know what you were doing when
I thought it was your name. I thought it was your name.
You didn't know, right? Hey, you didn't know what you were saying, right?
I thought it was his name.
I'm breaking it up. I'm breaking it up.
This is my buddy. Hey, look at all these cameras.
Whoa, look at his face. When somebody says, look at all these cameras, his face changes real quick. Look at here. Let's see if we can just back it up. Just, here we go.
This is my buddy. Hey, look at all these cameras.
As soon as someone said, look at all these cameras, look at how his face changed. Hey, buddy, there's a bunch of cameras on. Boom. Oh, man. You still tough, Chris? You still going to throw somebody down the stairs? You're going to throw someone down the stairs because they called you Fredo? It's a movie reference. Somebody makes a movie reference at your expense and you lie and say it's a racial slur. You compare it to a brutal racial slur. That's what you do. That's what you do because somebody hurt your feelings. I'm sure we can trust you to tell us the truth about the news. What a ridiculous thing. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Man, the cameras are on. His face changes. Chris Cuomo. There we go. He's a good news anchor, that guy. He's a good news anchor. Did a fun acting job here. Good job, Chris. Way to go. Way to go. All right. So that was Chris Cuomo's fake tough guy routine there. Now, there were some really good tough guy routines in a series called The Sopranos, which was a brilliant series. Rest in power, James Gandolfini. Shout out to little Steven Van Zandt, who did a phenomenal job on that show and has the coolest station on Sirius XM, in my humble opinion, Little Steven's Underground Garage. That was a brilliant series. Still one of my favorites. I've revisited it from time to time. And that took place in New Jersey, which is where our next story takes place. Vampire Anarchy, who gave us our song of the day today, also shares this story out in New Jersey. So we're going to go over to Jersey now, folks. And here we go. Fix it. Newark residents are concerned over lead in their water supply. So in Newark, Jersey, high school history teacher Yvette Jordan and her husband Frank are among thousands of Newark residents urged to use bottled water until further notice. Recent tests by the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, showed that 38,000 water filters handed out by the city might not be effective in removing lead from Newark's water supply. We had our water tested, and it's 3 times the federal action level. That's upsetting. Newark is catching up to a problem it's reportedly denied for more than a year. But Mayor Ross Baraka said the water giveaway is out of an abundance of caution. Testing was performed in only 3 homes, which we believe is a small sample size. The lead is suspected to be leaching in from water from old pipes in predominantly lower income and minority neighborhoods. The Natural Resources Defense Council, which is suing Newark for violating federal safe drinking water laws, estimates that 30 million Americans drink community water that contains lead, and 5.5 million get water that exceeds the EPA's maximum levels. We need to make some investments in fixing our lead contamination problems, said the senior director, Eric D. Olson. They have been with us for decades, and they continue to haunt us, and they are threatening children across the country. The mayor said the lead service pipes have to be replaced at an estimated cost of $70 million. He asked President Trump for federal assistance. I'm extremely concerned for my students, Yvette said. Water is a human right. Fix it. So it's not just in Flint. It's in Newark, New Jersey, which is right near New York City, by the way. Right near New York City. Reason I bring that up, there's a ton of people. There's a ton of people in these places. And these are some very, very wealthy places. Newark, New Jersey, New York City. These are very wealthy places. And yet we can't get clean drinking water in the United States. We are the richest country in the world. We are a first world country. We can't get clean drinking water. We can't get clean drinking water to people. And it's happening in Newark, New Jersey. It's happening in Flint, Michigan. It's happening in a lot of cities across the U.S. And by the way, when they run these tests, they don't even do like honest testing. A lot of times they'll cook the books on the test. Jordan Cheriton uncovered a lot of that. They'll let the water run for a certain amount of time so that they're more likely to yield a positive result. So the EPA, I mean, keep in mind, the EPA, as of right now especially, is completely gutted and is a shell of an agency. No pun intended there with the word shell. Shell oil, you get it. I know, Lucy, you're concerned. You're concerned. I get it. Don't worry. We make sure that you have clean water, Lucy. Don't worry. We do the best we can here. So Newark, New Jersey. And this is just by the EPA standards, which again, EPA gutted agency right now. So even by their arguably already lax standards, this is 3 times the permitted level. So Newark, New Jersey. It's not just Flint, Michigan. It's going on all over the country. And I'm sure there are cities we don't even know about yet. I'm sure, I mean, you can see different reports. There have been different reports out there. Flint, Michigan, of course, is among the cities. Newark, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, my hometown, which, by the way, capital of fracking, Western Pennsylvania, capital of fracking. And they're experiencing toxic amounts of lead in their water supply. So we're going to see more of this throughout the country. And again, richest country in the world, can't get clean water. Why? Well, gee, maybe because pretty much all of our resources are spent on war. Pretty much all of our resources are spent on war. When the money's printed, it goes to more war. All right. So that's going on in Newark, New Jersey. All right. Here is something that Christina shares. So some protests are going on, and I'm not really familiar with everything going on here. We're going to learn about it for the first time together. The Denver Post is the outlet this is from, and Christina shared this over on the Twitter. So let's see what's going on. Americans protest. Let me close out of that there. Americans protest on medal stand at Pan Am Games. Okay. Fencer Race in Bowdoin took a knee, and hammer thrower Gwen Berry raised her fist to draw attention to growing tensions in the U.S. Okay, so what's going on here? This happened in Lima, Peru. 2 Americans used their medal-winning moments at the Pan American Games to draw attention to social issues back home that they feel are spiraling out of control. During their medal ceremonies at the multi-sport event in Lima, Fencer Race in Bowdoin took a knee, and hammer thrower Gwen Berry raised her fist. Both athletes could represent the U.S. less than a year from now at the Tokyo Olympics, where similar protests would be seen by a much wider audience. Racism, gun control, mistreatment of immigrants, and a president who spreads hate are at the top of a long list of America's problems, and Bowden said in a tweet sent after his team's foil medal ceremony. I chose to sacrifice my moment today at the top of the podium to call attention to issues I believe need to be addressed. I encourage others to please use your platforms for empowerment and change. Barry raised her fist as America's national anthem was played to honor her win in the hammer throw. She called out injustice in America and a president who's making it worse. It's too important to not say anything, Barry told USA Today. Something has to be said. If nothing is said, nothing will be done, and nothing will be fixed, and nothing will be changed. The history of high-profile protests at the Olympics dates to the 1968 Games in Mexico City, when sprinters Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised their fists during the medal ceremony for the 200-meter dash. The issues haven't changed all that much in the ensuing 50 years. Good for them. I admittedly don't know anything about either of these two athletes other than what we just read. But I think that's awesome that they're using their platform. Look, take a look around us. And you know, we talked about this on the show yesterday where I'm talking about, look, every revolution has its soundtrack. And who are these artists that didn't want to work with the climate activist Greta Thunberg? How do you look around if you are somebody with any type of platform? How do you look around? Or if you're just anybody, period. We all have a platform. We all have something. We all have Twitter. We all have Facebook. How do you look around and be like, we're fine. There's nothing. We got nothing to say here. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to think about. How do you say nothing? And the athletes that say something will be remembered when history is recorded, because I have to stay positive. I have to keep the hope that we're still going to have a positive chapter here in human history, that we're going to turn the corner from this for the better, that we're going to take a sharp left turn and this country is going to get better. I can't give up the hope that that's going to happen. I can't give up that hope. And when that does, and the history books are written, the people who said something will be remembered. The people who wrote the protest music, who used their platform to make a statement, the Colin Kaepernicks. These athletes, Gwendolyn Berry, and what's the other name? Rayson Bowden. Rayson Bowden, who's a fencer, which is really cool. Fencing's a lot of fun, actually. I was never good at it, but I tried it a couple times. I did foil, which if you ever fenced before, foil is a little more simple, like it's a little more like just like basic jabs and stuff, whereas like saber is a little more like you're all over the place. And then eventually it gets like choreographed and stuff like that, or it can be. I only did foil, which is like the really basic kind, and I only did it a couple times. It's a very expensive sport to partake in, but I was lucky because at my high school, the fencing club was there weren't a lot of people in it. So basically, if you had a friend in fencing club, they tried to recruit you to join fencing club. I had a friend in fencing club, so he was like, "Dude, come on!" And they had enough equipment that they would have equipment for you to use. And there were no fees to join the fencing club because they just needed people. So my fencing experience was free. But, you know, that's kind of lucky. So shout out to these athletes. Shout out to Rayson Bowden. Shout out to Gwen Berry. I think it's really cool they're doing this. And hopefully we see more of that. Look around us. Now's the time. If you don't, and this is just a thing out there to everybody, whether you're an artist, a musician, a comedian, a poet, an athlete, or just a person who looks around and says, I want the world to be a better place, no matter what your situation is. You know, if you're not going to speak up now, you're just never going to speak up. I mean, look around us. Look around in our contemporary society. Anybody who's not speaking up now, I guess has no plans on speaking up ever, unless they're not awake yet. And there's going to be a whole new crop of people that are going to be awake this election season. I mean, that's the one redeeming thing about the circumstance we're in is that people are waking up in droves. tons of people woke up politically because of Donald Trump, because that's what it takes in society. It takes an event where you're just like, whoa, what the hell? They're lying to us. Holy, what? Whoa, I'm awake. It takes an event. For me, it was the Iraq War. For me, it was the Iraq War and then the 2004 election. When Iraq happened, I was like, why are we going to Iraq? They didn't attack us. What's going on here? Is the Bush administration lying to us? I'm not a big fan of the guy, but I don't know. I don't really pay attention to politics. What's going on? Oh, wait a second. Fox News is faxing this administration talking points? That's happening? Our media is owned by an elite group of corporations? That's a thing? Clear Channel gobbled up a bunch of the radio stations, and that's why it's all right-wing talk and insipid music? What's happening? I thought we were a democracy. What's this Noam Chomsky book? We got to get Bush out of office. Oh, we failed to do that? I'm awake now. That was what happened to me. And that happened to a bunch of people in 2016. It's going to happen to a bunch more people in 2020. So, but if you're awake and you're not speaking out, well, you just never plan on doing it. Because if you don't speak out now, I don't know what it's going to take. I think it's just it's just not going to happen. All right. So we got to follow up on something from yesterday, but first we're going to go over to Tennessee. So we went over to the Olympic Games. We went to New Jersey. Now we're going to go to Tennessee. We're speaking about how, hey man, if you're not going to speak up now, what's it going to take? Well, this is happening over in Tennessee. Breaking news in Tennessee, a state I used to call home, by the way. Used to live in Nashville, lovely town. Tennessee is actually an amazing place in so many ways. Johnson City, it's an amazing place. Chattanooga, Tennessee, they got the best internet in the country because they did municipal broadband first. They got the best internet in the country at a reasonable price because they have city-owned internet. And now Tennessee, despite being a red state, they want to do that all over Tennessee. Because a free and open internet is not a partisan issue. People on the right, the left, and everything in between want a free and open internet. But Tennessee electorally does have a lot of problems. They got a lot of problems. And I remember being a resident in that state. And whenever I went to the voting booth, I never got to vote for anything. I got to vote against horrible policies. That's all I ever got to do. I had to go vote against policies that set women's rights back 30-some years. That was all I ever got to do in the voting booth. And it looks like not a lot has changed. Tennessee lawmakers consider criminalizing abortion in all cases. Tennessee lawmakers said Monday they are considering whether to seek one of the nation's strictest abortion bans, even as such laws continue to be struck down in court. At issue is a proposal to prohibit abortion once a pregnancy is detected. While a similar bill stalled in the Republican-controlled State House earlier this year, backers are renewing efforts now to collect enough support ahead of the 2020 legislative session. There may be no other issue that creates this much passion, said Senator Mike Bell. Nationwide, abortion opponents are emboldened by new conservatives on the Supreme Court and are seeking cases to challenge Roe v. Wade. As part of that national trend, 6 states, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Ohio, passed bills this year banning abortions around 6 weeks into pregnancy. Most of those have since faced legal challenges where federal judges have indicated that the laws will likely fail to uphold under the legal precedents set by the High Court. The Roe v. Wade ruling established a nationwide right to an abortion. So that's what Tennessee's trying to do. Tennessee is trying to make sure that as soon as a pregnancy is detected, abortion is criminal, which basically means they're outlawing abortion. I mean, come on, that's basically what that does. Obviously. I mean, I think everyone realizes that. Well, that outlaws abortion. It criminalizes abortion immediately. When I lived there, and this was back in, I think it was like 2012 maybe, but there was something on the, maybe it was like 2014, but there was something on the ballot where it required doctors and nurses by law to show a pregnant woman, if she's considering an abortion, it required them by law to show her the ultrasound in detail and describe it to her. As in, they had to be like, so this is your baby's beating heart. This is your baby breathing. I know you're facing the toughest decision in your life, probably. This is probably one of the toughest decisions you'll ever have to make in your life. But here I'm going to subtly shame you by describing this ultrasound in detail to you. I'm basically harassing you, and I'm required by law to do it. People quit their jobs over it. Nurses and other medical professionals, they quit their jobs because they were like, I can't do this. I cannot do this to a human being. An abortion is their right. So, but Tennessee trying to just outlaw it entirely. This is your government. This is what your government's working on right now. This is what our government finds worthwhile. We have poverty in the United States, richest country in the world, with an abundance of food production. More food gets wasted than gets consumed. Yet we still have poverty in this country. The fact that we have any poverty level whatsoever is beyond ridiculous. We have a gap between the rich and the poor that is remnant of ancient Egyptian times. We have people who die every year, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people who die every year because of lack of healthcare. If they had basic healthcare, they'd still be alive. Richest country in the world, that happens. People can't get a higher education without going into crippling amounts of debt. And yet, this is what they spend their time on. Criminalizing somebody who may be dealing with something they're not able to handle. So they need to seek a termination of a pregnancy, which is their right to do. We're going to criminalize them. People facing one of the most difficult decisions in their lives. And by the way, if we created a more nurturing society, maybe people would feel like they had more of an option. Maybe less people. Nobody chooses abortion because, oh, I love the idea of getting an abortion, huh? They choose it because they feel like they don't really have a choice. That having the child is not a choice because they can't afford the prenatal care. Because they can't take that time off work to have the child, even if they do give it up for adoption right away. They can't afford to do it. They can't afford what that 9 months would cost them because they don't get maternity leave at their job. So if you're really so opposed to abortion, why not try to create a more nurturing society? Why not try to foster more prenatal care? Why not support universal health care that includes all of those things? Why not try to make a more nurturing society instead of judging and shaming women who are facing the most difficult decision of their lives? Why not try to focus on a better work culture that pays living wages and gives decent maternity leave like they do in other countries? Why not do all that instead of passing archaic, brutal legislation like this? Unbelievable. This is what our government prioritizes. Oh, and you know what else they do? They're trying to censor the internet. We talked about this yesterday on the show. We're gonna follow up on it again because it is a big deal. There is an executive order out there that gives the government, whoever's in power, in this case Trump, control over the internet. So there's issues going on with Facebook and Twitter and Google kind of deciding what is and isn't free speech. And that's an issue. Silicon Valley billionaires shouldn't be deciding what is and isn't free speech. These things are commonplace in our lives. They need to be designated as public utilities, and they need to be looked after and forced to follow the free speech laws of the U.S. But instead of seeking that type of solution, what the Trump administration is trying to do is they're just saying, hey, are you worried about overreaching censorship from Silicon Valley? Us too. So why don't you worry about overreaching censorship from us instead? Let's just transfer the authority over to us. It's still authoritarian, but it's us doing it instead of Silicon Valley. Does that sound better? No, it doesn't sound better. It sounds just as bad, if not worse. So here's a refresher on what's going on. The Trump administration drafted an executive order to censor the internet. So CNN obtained a copy of this draft. And what it's doing is Trump's plan attempts to strip certain protections from companies like Facebook and Twitter, particularly those protected under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Now, this is still in its early stages and subject to change. The details that it contains are a paradox that involve fighting censorship with more censorship. So part of the Telecommunications Act in 1996, a horrible bill, by the way, the CDA sought to regulate pornographic material on the internet. Section 230, also known as Title V, was not part of the original bill. It was later added in an attempt to protect service providers from the actions of their users. So Facebook, for example, isn't breaking a law if a user uploads sexual material featuring a minor. It could, however, be in hot water if it was later proven that Facebook knew the piece of content existed and did nothing to remove it. Policing billions of users is all but impossible after all. So Trump's administration sought to strip some of these protections by calling on the FCC to change how the rule is interpreted. As it stands, Trump's plan is for the FCC and the FTC to draft a new interpretation of Section 230 that cracks down on politically biased moderation. The FCC is meant to interpret Section 230 with language declaring anti-competitive, unfair, or deceptive practices violate the definition of good faith outlined in the CDA. Social media networks that remove or suppress content without notifying users are in violation of this agreement. The FTC, on the other hand, is seemingly involved as the agency responsible for collecting consumer complaints when social media networks run afoul of the new interpretation. This, however, opens up an entirely new problem. So here's what's really going on here. Conservatives have alleged for years that social media bias exists and that it's silencing their opinions. There's little in the way of evidence that this type of bias exists. The conservative, all right, blah, 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 blah. All right. So the order titled Protecting Americans from Online Censorship is merely a framework. It's likely to be one of many, and it's doubtful the final version will contain this type of language. But if it comes to be, the order would certainly need to clarify language within. It's unnecessarily broad, downright confusing at times. Any order pushing for political neutrality, however, is sure to raise questions of constitutionality. So basically what they're saying here is, okay, so there's this assumed bias going on some social media sphere. Now the government can just kind of go in and just shut it down. There's no due process. And maybe certain biases like that happen at times. It's very possible. But when you give this authoritarian power to the government to just go in and be like, okay, well, we're just going to quelch this. No due process, no questions asked. We just feel like you're biased against us, especially Trump, who just thinks everything's always against him. All social media is against him. All this is against him. You know, it's just transferring authoritarian. It's just transferring overreaching authority. That's all it's doing. It's saying, hey, Silicon Valley can now just censor stuff without any due process. They can just decide what is and isn't free speech. This is concerning. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and just give all that power to the government then. You're complaining that they're doing this? All right, we'll take your word for it. Bam, now they're just gone. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not the solution. Well, you complained about it. They're gone now. You see how this is just a transfer of, so that's what's going on. And here is something you can do, because we are going to follow this daily, because that's how big of an issue this is. The free and open internet is at stake here. And here's what actionnetwork.org has to say about this. And this is from this is a campaign by Fight for the Future. So leaked documents show that the Trump administration is drafting an executive order that, if upheld by the courts, could essentially end free speech on the internet. The draft order would put the FTC and the FCC, headed by Ajit Pai, who is notoriously corrupt, that's an accurate description of what he is, in charge of monitoring, policing online speech on social media platforms, online forums, and more. It would give bureaucratic government agencies unprecedented control over how internet platforms moderate speech by allowing them to revoke the essential protections Congress laid out in Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act. CDA 230 is the basic law that makes it possible for online platforms to let users post our own content. and to make basic decisions about what kind of contents they as private entities want to host. Every meme, every social media post, every blog, and user-created video on the internet has been made possible by this crucial free speech protection. In practice, this executive order would mean that whichever political party is in power could dictate what speech is allowed on the internet. So basically, they identified a problem. We identified the problem as people of overreaching free speech authority that Silicon Valley has via platforms like Facebook and Google and Twitter. And the government decided, okay, we can go ahead and make that worse. We can give ourselves bureaucratic power to just shut these things down now if we don't like what they're doing. Here's a bad situation. We just made it way worse. So sign this petition. This is not the answer to deal with issues of censorship on the internet, giving the government full control over censor. Why aren't libertarians and the right screaming about this as well? This is not a partisan issue, by the way. People of all types of political, and maybe they are, and I've just not seen it. So I don't want to I don't want to make assumptions here, but people of all political persuasions should be sounding the alarm about this. This is not the answer to issues of censorship on the internet. The answer is to designate things public utilities and have them abide by free speech laws. That's the answer. Not to give the government this overreaching authority to then just stamp social media platforms out if they do something that they're like, oh, well, you did this and this is in violation of whatever. You're done here. We have the authority to do that. It's not the answer. So you can go to this website again. It's actionnetwork.org/petition/censor the internet. And this is a campaign by Fight for the Future. And you can add your name to demand that this executive order not go through. All right. So let me see what you guys are saying, and that is how we'll end the show today. I hope everybody is having a good day. A lot of heavy stuff going on today, huh? What a Tuesday, right? As opposed to any other Tuesday, I suppose. You know the drill. Lucy, what are your thoughts? She's just like totally stoic here, right in front of the microphone. What do you have to say, Lucy? Are you worried about all this? Are you concerned? What are you most concerned about? What are you most concerned about? Oh, there it is. She's like, I want my treat. That's what I'm most concerned about. Guys, tour dates, I got them. Upper Midwest, we're coming in September. September 4th, we're coming to Omaha, Nebraska. September 5th, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. September 6th, Madison, Wisconsin. September 7th, Minneapolis, Minnesota. September 8th, Iowa City, Iowa. Don't wait. Get your tickets now at ronplacone.com. Australia, we're coming. We're coming in November. Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney. Tickets are available now. November, we're coming to Australia. Get your tickets at ronplacone.com. 2020, we're booking. Email me at ronplacone.com. Where do you want to see us? We're going to be coming to the Midwest. We're going to be coming back to the Southeast. We're going to be doing some stuff on the West Coast, on the East Coast. We are going to hit as many pockets in the country as we can get to in 2020. Where do you want to see this? Where do you want to see the Progressive Comedy Tour? That's Grandma Wood and myself. Email me. Let me know because we want to come to your city. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a patron. Patreon.com/ronplacone. For a Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album. You just get my album and you can just download it. And that's for a Give What You Can level. Whatever you're comfortable giving with is awesome. And you help me expand this show. I want to do more interviews. I want to do more streams. I want to have debates. I want to have a cooking segment. I want to do all that and expand Get Your News On with Ron, especially as we're going into 2020. I want to have more candidates on. Please, if you are so able, patreon.com/ronplacone to help me get there. I get demonetized constantly. In fact, I guarantee you this stream was demonetized. I promise you, because Chris Cuomo was cursing in that video, so this stream was demonetized. You know the drill. Thank you so much for sharing the articles that you shared. They were great, per usual. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same channel, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Until then, you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.